Hello, I'm Paul Perrello, and welcome to the Philly Factor. Well, these days it seems everyone has a bucket list. Yeah, you know what we're talking about. You know, that list of things you want to do before you kick the bucket, right? You know, everybody has that list. Well, it might be travel to some far-off destination or do something like you've never ever done before, like hang gliding. Well, sometimes you have to travel real far away to do some of this stuff. Trust me, this next half hour you're going to want to stay very close to the television set because we have a local author here that's going to discuss her book. And you really don't have to go halfway around the world to do some of these things that we're going to be talking about. So if you've ever wanted to, for instance, land seats at a real exclusive Philadelphia restaurant, yeah, stay with us here. Or what about being serenaded by a future opera star? Well, just some of the things that you're going to find in the book. The name of the book is 100 Things to Do in Philadelphia Before You Die. It is by Irene Levy Baker. I've known Irene from when I was a kid. No, actually, I'm only a kid. It hasn't been that long. But our paths crossed many, many times working in this business. Irene was with the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau for about a decade. She now has her own public relations firm, Spotlight PR, yes. Correct? And she is an author now, and she's with us here on the Philly Factor. Great to catch up with you.
I am so happy to be here, Paul. Thanks for inviting me.
I love the book.
Thank you.
I've never seen anything like it done here in Philadelphia. But only 100 things, Irene? Only 100 things?
Well, by far, that was the hardest part of the book, Paul.
Really?
I mean, if it was 1,000 things to do in Philadelphia before you die, it would have been much easier to write. The hardest part was cutting to 100. Mm-hmm. I woke up in the middle of the night sometimes and thought of things to add, but that meant something else had to come out. Yeah, the 100 was hard.
So if there are 100 for this book, might there be another 100 in another book? It's somewhere else down the line?
Well, I didn't think so, but the more lately I've been thinking more and more that it might be the case. Like, I just discovered a restaurant that makes gelato flights. 6 different tastings of gelato in different flavors.
Okay.
Well, then I said, this isn't in the book. I need another book.
Yeah, right. One of the things in here, we talked about this before we started, is that the best place to get gelato in Philadelphia. Now, I told you that I had gelato in Italy, in Venice, that was to die for. And so when you tell kids today, like my daughters, gelato in Italy is by far the best. Well, they want to go to Rita's to get gelato. It's like, really? There's no comparison. So you're telling me the best gelato in the world is in Philadelphia?
Well, not only according to me, but also according to Condé Nast and the New York Times. Capogiro Gelato.
Okay.
You'll find it on 20th Street, 13th Street. There's one in Old City. There's one in West Philly. Mm-hmm. So I challenge you to give it a try. Okay. And the Gelato Flight, which is at Grand Cafe L'Aquila, which is at 17th and Chestnut.
Okay.
That's your assignment.
All right, that's my assignment. So I'll have to put that on my bucket list then.
There
right?
you go.
There you go. You gave me something else to do.
Only 98 more.
Exactly. I guess your work with the Convention and Visitors Bureau then must have laid the groundwork for you to venture on this path down the road to do this book. Because look, you know better than anybody else that when travel writers come to town, they don't want the BS. They want, and they're going to find their story, whether you want to position your version of it or not. They're going to get right to it. So you, I'm sure, have had your challenges with travel writers that have come to Philadelphia.
I've had my challenges with you, Paul.
Thanks.
No, seriously. Every city tries to wine and dine travel writers and tries to get them excited about their city. So it's not an easy job. They're very jaded.
Right.
So that was my job at the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So I took them to places that I thought would surprise and delight them. And the things I learned, the things that delighted them, I share in the book.
So as you were taking these travel writers around town during your career with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, were you making mental notes about these places that you were going, or experiences that you had that maybe you just store away? And you may not have realized it at the time that this could go into a book, but did you make mental notes? Did you take actual physical notes to incorporate into the book at some time?
I did not know that a book was in my future.
Really?
So they were mental notes. They were notes that I used when my college roommate came to visit, when my mother-in-law came to visit, when my folks came to visit. So I went to the places that I loved repeatedly. I say that it took 25 years of research because after the 10 years at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, I've had my own PR firm. I specialize in restaurants and hospitality.
Okay.
So that showed me the back of the house, how to get restaurant reservations at Philadelphia's trendiest restaurants, what goes on at hotels, what goes on at attractions. And those are tips I share as well in the book.
And I want to make a big observation here that the book is not just for visitors to Philadelphia, but this book is also meant for sometimes those jaded Philadelphians that say, come on, Irene, you're going to tell me how to get the best table in the best restaurant in Philadelphia?
Exactly. I've been pleasantly surprised to find that the biggest buyers are locals because we all spend our weekends doing laundry and grocery shopping. People, frankly, want to have more fun. So it has not only the tried and true attractions that visitors or newcomers may not have seen, but lots of hidden gems.
We're going to get into some of those hidden gems in a moment here, but we're talking old, young, whether you are a transplant to the Philadelphia area, whether you're a lifelong resident of Philadelphia, whether you're a visitor to Philadelphia. And, back at the, when you started with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Philadelphia was just a half-day stop between New York and Washington. We really have become a world destination, much to the credit of you and the other people that work so hard and diligently at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, proving that we're more than just the Liberty Bell. And so this book is not only meant for those people that come to town and stay a few days, if not longer, but it's also meant for the residents of the city that their only perspective, and I don't want to paint with a broad brush here, is that, well, the Liberty Bell, it's in town and they've never seen the Liberty Bell. So this book really fits everybody.
Well, in the 25 years since I came to Philadelphia, people are surprised to hear that I'm not a Philadelphian by birth, but a Philadelphian by choice, that Philadelphia has grown and flourished.
Sure.
The outside dining, the very cool urban spaces like Spruce Street Harbor Park with its hanging lights and rainbow hammocks, and Dilworth Park with its ice skating, and Christmas Village now, and Garden Maze. It's not the same Philadelphia it was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's why, the Pope was here, the DNC convention was here, we're gonna have the NFL draft here. I mean, Philadelphia is really a world-class city now.
Yeah, it really is. So when we talk about those 100 places, those 100 things to do in Philadelphia before you die, and hopefully you're going to fit them all in before you die. Trust me.
I suggest people only do 99 just to protect their health.
But by that time, the second book will be out with the next 200, so they'll still have another.
We'll keep them busy.
Yeah, another 101 to go at that point. But what would you say? And not to throw you a curveball here, but and I know that the items in the book are not ranked 1 through 100. So you could go to, for instance, number 46, explore Fairmount Park. And a lot of people just think of Fairmount Park as a park, but there is so much to see and do. And it's not to say that Fairmount Park is 46th on the list, it's just the way that it falls into the book. But what is, from your perspective, the number one thing that people want to see or want to do, whether you live in the city or you visit the city?
Well, that's a really good question. I don't have them ranked because I realize everyone's ranking is going to be different.
Sure.
And in the back of the book are itineraries for young families, families with teens, dating, empty nesters, and by season, so that people have a place of where to start to pick out what their favorites might be.
Okay.
I also think your number one things are going to be different whether you're taking your college roommate, your mother-in-law, or your 17-year-old niece.
Right.
And those are the kind of questions my friends constantly call and ask me. So let me give you a favorite for each of those situations. Okay. So for your mother-in-law, I would recommend going to the Rosenbach Museum, which is a very small museum of arts, antiques, and rare books. It's on Delancey Street between 20th and 21st. So she gets to see an incredibly interesting museum. She gets to see a home on the prettiest street in Rittenhouse Square, which is the prettiest neighborhood in Philadelphia, and she's only on her feet for an hour.
There you go.
I would say take your college roommate to Magic Gardens, which is on 20th and South, I'm sorry, South and 10th, and Isaiah Zagar, who's a mosaic artist, took tiles and mirrors and found objects and bicycle parts and took a half a city block and mosaicked everything, the walls, the ceiling, the floor, and there are pathways you can walk through, and it's a very magical place, and she will have not seen anything like it no matter where she lives.
Right.
I would say take your 17-year-old niece to Spruce Street Harbor Park, which is seasonal. It's open in the summertime with hanging lights and hammocks. It has a beer garden, has giant board games. Young and old people hang out. It's a really cool urban space on the Delaware River. She will definitely think you're cooler than her parent, who is your sister or brother.
For sure. Again, the name of the book is 100 Things to Do in Philadelphia Before You Die. It is a fascinating read. It's an easy read. And as we said, it really fits all types of people. So whether you live in town, live in the suburbs, live in South Jersey, but these are 100 things you can do in Philadelphia. So you didn't necessarily, because there are a lot of places to go outside of Philadelphia, but these are just, for the most part, things in the city itself?
I didn't worry about arbitrary borders.
Okay.
So when things were interesting that were outside the Philadelphia city limits, I included them.
Okay.
The majority are in inside the city, but I included QVC studio tours, which a lot of people don't realize are right here in Westchester, Longwood Gardens, Sesame Place, places that are outside the city limits.
Sure. And yeah, a lot of people don't realize that QVC, right outside of Philadelphia, and they have studio tours. And I'm sure they must have a gift shop like most.
Oh, absolutely.
Most attractions have. They get you on the way out. That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
The Rocky Steps. I mean, we talk. I mean, back in the day, the Liberty Bell was the iconic symbol of Philadelphia, and it still is. I mean, when we talk about the birth of our country, it is Independence Hall and it is the Liberty Bell. But sort of then in '76, when Rocky won the Academy Award, the movie. Everything shifted a little bit where the Liberty Bell was still important, but those darn Rocky Steps, everybody's running the Rocky Steps. That's included in your book.
Absolutely, as is the statue outside, which always has a line to take a picture.
Sure.
And it's worth waiting to get that picture.
Yeah. And so when people come to town, they think the Rocky Steps, they think Independence Hall, they think of the Liberty Bell, and restaurants, because everyone loves to eat. And again, not that your book is, listing, some of the best restaurants to eat, but the restaurant scene really has popped in Philadelphia over the last few years.
We have a wonderful restaurant scene in Philadelphia, and one of the things in the book is tips on how to get into those restaurants. I mean, how many times have you gone to Open Table online to make reservations?
Sure.
And the restaurant you just read about in a magazine or a newspaper or heard about on TV, and there's no reservations between 5 o'clock and 9:30. And you don't want to eat it before 5 o'clock or after 9:30. So you give up and you say, I can't go to Vetri or Laurel or Veg because there's no reservations available. Right. In the book are tips on how to get those reservations. And I'll give you two of those tips.
Okay.
The rest you'll have to get the book to read.
All right.
One is restaurants don't put all of their reservations on Open Table. Oftentimes those key reservations on Saturday nights at 7 o'clock aren't on Open Table. And if you call, you can get those reservations.
Imagine that, call. Actually use the phone and call the restaurant.
And there's a reason for that, because the restaurants pay for every reservation that comes through Open Table. They pay Open Table. They know people are going to come Saturday at 7 o'clock, so they don't need to pay for those. So call the restaurant directly. It's so simple. But it's something that anyone can do. The other is to follow those key restaurants on social media and follow the chefs on social media. If somebody cancels or they have a hole in their reservation book, they will tweet or post about it, and you can get those reservations if you're paying attention.
Can you also meet some of the top chefs in Philadelphia?
Sure. One great place to meet the top chefs is at Cook at 20th and Locust Street, which is a gourmet kitchen with 16 bar stools around it.
Okay.
And the top chefs in Philadelphia teach classes there.
Really?
They're demo classes, one-on-one almost with the chefs. They talk to you and they feed you throughout the class. It's really fun. You get a full meal, you get a full class, you get wine, and it's a great experience, maybe 2-3 hours. They have classes almost every evening. So here's your tip for that.
Okay.
So with only 16 seats, you can imagine it's pretty hard to get one of those seats. They announce it once a month, an email comes out, and they will tell you the email's coming out Monday at 2 o'clock. So in order to get one of those seats, especially for the top chefs, be at your computer exactly when they say that email is coming out. And when you see a class that interests you, don't call your spouse to ask them, don't call your friends, buy them immediately. That's what I do.
Yeah, yeah. What has been the reaction to the book? Not only amongst your colleagues, but I'm sure there are people that didn't get listed in this book, and they're probably calling and saying, Irene, why didn't you list me in the book? Because everybody wants to be in this book. So what has been the reaction to the whole concept of this book?
The book's been a lot of fun. People are having fun with it. I've bumped into people around town. They tell me that they cross out the things they've done and they circle the things they haven't done, and then they make plans to do those things. So every weekend, instead of just getting bogged down doing errands, they're doing one thing, whether it's going to a museum they've never been to, like the Eastern State Penitentiary,
Sure.
or something quick like picking up a PB&J milkshake at Franklin Fountain.
Again, the name of the book is 100 Things to Do in Philadelphia Before You Die. Discover Philadelphia all under one roof. The Independence Visitor Center in the heart of Independence National Historical Park is the official visitor center of Philadelphia. People will pass the building, may not be aware of what's inside. It's right there in the middle of the most historic square mile in America. Stop in, see what's going on, right?
They can give you a lot of advice. There are movies about Philadelphia. There's a gift shop, of course. Yeah, it's a good place to get your bearings and start your tour.
Sure. I know, not included in the book, but there's another museum that will be opening, the Museum of the American Revolution in Old City.
It'll be opening this spring.
Yeah, so it's an exciting time. No matter where you go in Philadelphia, and you're from your perspective with the years that you were at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, I mean, did you always have this vision that Philadelphia was really one of the best kept secrets on the East Coast?
Yeah, it made it fun to talk about because there's always something new to happening here in Philadelphia.
When you were with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and you brought all the travel media through, what seemed to be, and I know this is a general question, a broad question, but what was their number one spot that they wanted to go? Was it the Liberty Bell at the time, or was it the Rocky Steps? Obviously, if you have food writers that are coming in to take in the restaurant scene, that's where they're going to want to go. But from how has the number one destination in Philadelphia changed over all these years?
Well, that was many years ago, and I will say that yes, everybody still has always associated Philadelphia with Rocky, so there always is a Rocky stop. Reading Terminal Market is a perennial favorite.
Really? Yep.
And everybody does want that cheesesteak.
Yeah.
Even the food writers. And what I recommend for people is go to the Italian market, try Pat's and Gino's, have a friend go across the street, get one at each, meet in the middle, try half and half, and pick your own favorite.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I mentioned some other places in the book too, because we, as Philadelphians, we all have our favorites.
Sure, yeah. And sometimes it's outside of the realm of what we'll call the tourist track. I mean, not that, there's nothing wrong with Gino's, Pat's, but there are some great steak shops that don't necessarily get all of the recognition as Pat's and Gino's get.
I agree with you, but you have to have that Pat's and Gino's experience.
Sure,
That's
absolutely.
after dark at 2 in the morning when you can see the limos pulling up and the brides and grooms and things. That's, I mean, that's a quintessential Philadelphia experience.
Yeah. Now, with the 100 things that you've put in this book, how many of them, I'm sure you were going to tell me that you've pretty much tried all of these because you had to try them to make sure to validate them before you put into the book, but did you have any help with putting these 100 things into the book?
I did. I talked to experts in different areas.
Okay.
One thing I don't know a lot about is bars because I'm not much of a drinker. So I got lists of bars where you could hear jazz, but I didn't feel comfortable putting them in the book until I had tried them all.
Okay.
So the night that my husband got home and said to me, "What are we doing tonight?" and I said, "Going bar hopping," his jaw dropped to the floor. He said, "No, really?" And I said, "Yeah, really." So we spent quite a few weeks going bar hopping, trying out jazz bars, and I'm here to say that Chris's Jazz Cafe, South, Warm Daddy's, Bob and Barbara's, great places, thoroughly checked out. We had a ball, and now I get the whole bar thing.
There you go.
So that was a bit life-changing for me.
I want to talk about See Philadelphia in a New Light on a hidden city tour, because look, a lot of people will take the official walking tour or the official bus tour, but what you've included in the book is a hidden city tour.
I love these walking tours, hidden city type tours, and the Preservation Alliance architecture tours, because you get to see your own neighborhoods and places you walk by all the time, and you learn things you never knew about them. So you'll walk by and like the Preservation Alliance tours are led by retired architects.
Okay.
And they'll say, these two brownstones are exactly the same, side by side. Do you know why? And they'll explain to you that the father built them for his two daughters that got married the same year in the early 1900s. And then every time you walk by them, you see something special that you never noticed before. So it really brings to light things about your own neighborhood, which is really special, especially for lifelong and longtime Philadelphians.
The city skyline has changed dramatically, not only in the past 25 years, but even in the past 10 years.
And in going forward, it's going to continue to change so much.
And I think here, and of course I can't find it, I should have dog tagged the page of the book, but there's a new observation deck high atop the city of Philadelphia.
Atop Liberty Place, there's a new observation deck, and you can see 360 degrees. It's absolutely beautiful. It's really the first high observation deck we've had. It's much higher than the top of City Hall, which is also really fun.
I was going to bring that up too, yeah.
And my recommendation when you go to One Liberty is to go at dusk, so you can see everything during the day and see if you can find your house and see what things look like from far away, and then see it at night with the lights twinkling, all in one visit.
Interesting. Some of these suggestions in the book, are they free, open to the public? Do you need to make reservations? Obviously, if you're going to a restaurant, we talked about making the reservation, right?
So there is actually a list of things that are free. Like the U.S. Mint is lots of fun.
Really?
It's a self-guided tour. It takes about 45 minutes, and it is in fact free. So there is a whole list of things that are free. Some things obviously need reservations or take tickets.
Sure.
Many of them have discounts, and I mentioned sometimes in the book whether there are discounts available at certain times. And what was the second part of that question?
Whether we talked about reservations, whether there was a fee, and as well as operating hours, because not every building or
operating hours are not in the book because those change so frequently. So I do suggest people go online and check that.
The other, you mentioned City Hall Tower, because a lot of people don't realize that you can take the elevator ride to the base of the Billy Penn statue, and there is an observatory up there where you may get an obstructed view if you're looking west on Market Street because of all the construction there, but a lot of people may not even realize that you can go to the top of City Hall and look out over the city.
It's quite fascinating. You take a tiny little elevator up to the top, and you get a bird's eye view of Philadelphia.
Yeah. Are there other tours, I don't know if they're in the book or not, of City Hall, because that really is where the seat of our city government is, right there at the intersection of Broad and Market Streets. But you know, it's a building you could go into and you can wander around, but it really is where Philadelphia government comes together.
There are tours of City Hall. It is fascinating, and tickets are given out day of. So I recommend going early, getting your ticket, and then coming back for your tour, because they do sell out every day, many days.
Can people make recommendations or suggestions or comment on the things that you have in this book? Maybe someone, they're new to the city or they're a lifelong resident and they stumbled upon one of these great things that they want to share with you?
Yeah, I mean, I love that. Every time I speak at different places, people have ideas, some of which are in the book, some aren't. I keep a list in case there really is a second book of places that I want to check out or places that I might want to consider including. So I recommend people go to my website, 100thingstodoinphiladelphia.com. There are links to all my social media where people can have conversations with me, ask me questions, tell me about ideas. And they can also purchase the book there. Absolutely. Is it also available in bookstores throughout the greater Philadelphia area? It's on Amazon.com, and it's on independent bookstores throughout the area. Okay. And having known you for so many years, I know you're very passionate about presenting your adopted city in this positive light, in this way. What has this whole process of not only writing a book, but getting it published and to be going out and doing media about the book, what has this been for you? Because, Irene, you've always been on the other side, putting other people up front to talk about the city or talk about restaurants or talk about, now all of a sudden you're in the media limelight. So what has this
what has this been like for you?
That's a very interesting question, Paul. It's been a life-changing experience for me because it helped me really think about the city and my feelings about the city, and how I just love walking around Center City every day, and I'm smiling every day, and it's been a lot of fun. I've met a lot of very interesting people. It's been a great experience.
How do you, how do you not walk down Market Street, let's say, and see something that maybe wasn't there 6 weeks ago, and you make that mental note of, this is great. I have to make a note of this to either come back and check it out or come back and make sure that I include it in my next book.
That's the story of my life. I mean, I literally take notes all the time and take pictures all the time. I do post many of those on the book's Facebook page, which is 100 Things to Do in Philadelphia. Every day I'm seeing new things.
Sure. I can't wait to see the next book. She's not going to commit to whether there's going to be a next book or not, but knowing Irene, there will be. Hopefully it's not going to take 25 years to get the next book out, though. But this is a fascinating read. And look, at this time of the year where you are looking for something special to give that someone for the holidays, you want to check out this book. 100 Things to Do in Philadelphia Before You Die. It is available Amazon.com, the easiest way to pick it up. And if you want to know how to land the tables at the trendiest restaurants, get discount show tickets, it's all here in the book. Irene, I want to thank you so much for being with us here on the program.
Thank you. Can I add one thing?
Sure.
100 Things to Do in Philadelphia.com. If you said you heard about the book from Paul, I'll sign it for you.
Excellent. Thank you. There you go. So check it out. And until the next time, I want to say thank you so much for joining us here on the Philly Factor. I'm Paul Perrello. We'll see you on our next program. And they do the cutaway.